In that report, they found that 75% of employees were concerned about AI's use, including with personal data. And I think that's a big concern for everyone because your privacy really is your freedom.
Ed Radio Australia, it is, of course, time for the Greater Wealth. I've got Derek Whittaker to my left, and the man over there getting his sustenance, and some nice chips and gravy, mate. It's Mr. Cards here. Lovely to see you both.
Didn't offer me anyway.
He didn't. I noticed that too. Yeah, okay.
I asked, but no one responded. So
please don't talk with your mouth full. Okay, come on. Your mother taught you better than that. Now, today, obviously...
You sure you want me to reply to that?
No, please don't. Please don't today. No, I will throw this out though. Look, today obviously a very special date, and special is totally the wrong word. A date
significant.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Look, I knew it started with an S. That's all I could do. And
the birth of so many conspiracy theories.
Absolutely,
how a passport can survive a fire better than support beams.
Well, let's not talk about that right now. All I just want to throw out there is for anybody who was affected by that, and I know it's a long time ago, but let's face it, it's changed the world forever. And there's a lot of families involved, and obviously, this show is being listened to and watched in the US. So just want to send it out there. Our love and appreciation for all those involved. Simple as that. All right, let's jump into the show in a nice positive way. My friend, now you have something there that is very interesting. We're going to talk AI.
I want to talk, with a bit of an emphasis on the younger generations and how they relate to the economy, because most people think that economics is all about older people, retired men who can afford the Porsche and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But it's interesting how many students are using artificial intelligence than the actual workforce employees are. Reporters come out to say this, and they're saying that AI will rapidly and significantly disrupt, I should say, more than $600 billion worth of economic activity. So,
whoa,
it's something you can't ignore.
No,
that's a lot of mullah. So more than a quarter of the Australian economy will be disrupted by that, experts are saying. They're warning. Businesses and workers are still a bit hesitant on the new advancement. It kind of reminds me of the days when the internet came out. And a lot of businesses were going, what do I need a website for?
Yep.
I've got business cards. And really needed to look at, your website is your business card.
It really is.
And then it became so much more in terms of interaction. And I think businesses really caught on to it when the ease of receiving payments for their business via a website. Yeah, we're in.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, cash flow. That's good, yeah.
And we can save costs on staff.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, look, you're right. I mean, I've got my reservations about AI, but I'm also very concerned about the fact that so many things are being written with ChatGPT, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, well, you love it. I can't stand it.
But it's funny because you guys are in your 50s. I've just turned 40, so you can see a clear distinction that the younger generation don't make a much better use of AI than the older generation, and that's where the danger is.
Well...
Okay.
It's interesting. I think the unknown about AI is where's it all going. I mean, obviously that was certainly the case with the internet. Although when you started to see that the internet was merely a means of communication, it was like, okay, cool, we get this. It's just another broadcast avenue in many regards. AI, I think, is interpreted a little bit differently. But what's interesting right now is you'll be very aware of what's happening in Hollywood right now. Crickets. Nobody's working. The actors are on strike, and the writers are on strike. Now, how many of those roles can be used or taken over by artificial intelligence?
Well, I'm going to float back to when Avatar first came out, and there was obviously...
Hang on, which Avatar?
The first one.
No, which one? Avatar the Blue People or Avatar the Last Airbender?
Oh, I'm going to say the Blue People because I haven't watched either of them because I found it rubbish. But
they're actually really good movies.
Yeah, I watched about 20 minutes of the Blue People and thought, I can't stand this, I'm getting out of it. That's just me. This wasn't my taste.
But the thing is, there were still actors. They had bodysuits on with tracking devices on.
This is where I'm going on this. I remember when that happened, and there was talk of an actor's strike and all that sort of carry on, and the producers at the time were going, hey, do you know what? Technology means, quite frankly, we don't even need you. So obviously they need writers. So
no, they don't anymore.
Well, yes, that's where I was kind of going on there. The fact is, you've got these, artificial intelligence can now actually write these movies, and that can also
animate.
Absolutely. So and the animation is so accurate now.
There was a photography competition where a guy created a photo of like a person standing behind another person, made it all old looking, entered into a photography award and won. And he refused to accept the photo because he said it's not a photo. This was generated by AI.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, look, it's become the technology is so good and so effective. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen these, but you've seen, Abe Lincoln doing speeches. You've seen, I saw Biden rapping the other day, which, was funny as hell because quite frankly, I
We
didn't
know
even
Biden can't do it.
Well, I knew that he has enough trouble with English language without trying to rap, right? But it's so effective and it was so accurate that you have to really watch closely. So with that's the tech that people are doing with apps and things at home. You imagine what control Hollywood, as you say, has got. So with these strikes and that kind of thing, they could really replace the whole box and dice.
It's interesting, the Deloitte report that actually came upon this. The report was called Generation AI Ready or Not, Here We Come.
Okay.
In that report, they found
Great
that
song.
75% of employees were concerned about AI's use, including with personal data. And I think that's a big concern for everyone because your privacy really is your freedom.
Yeah.
We're seeing that being encroached on so many levels, from people being cancelled, so to speak, on what they say on social media, now to having reforms or changes coming through, where we discussed recently about National Australia Bank saying if you say anything offensive, we're going to shut your business accounts down.
Yeah,
and where's the line drawn? And I think that's the unknowns in this. Obviously, legislation can never keep up with the pace of technology because it moves so quickly, and with AI. My goodness, how can you get that kind of legislation through too? Maybe the politicians will start using AI to come up with the legislation. Heaven forbid.
To be honest with you, I read a lot of that legislation, and it's a dog's dinner. It is so complicated, convoluted, hard to understand. I think if AI was actually writing the legislation, I think they'd do a much better job than what some of the shit that's been tabled out at the moment.
But it's the ambiguity that sometimes it's the power of law, and that people like that ambiguity. Well, we're not sure. We'll have to refer to the lawyers and get a ruling on it.
Yep.
Oh, look,
I
I absolutely
a crap load of money in the process.
I 100%. I look at legislation and I look at the way that loopholes are deliberately written into it. Right, simple as that. So to give the lawyers something to do, there is always an out. There's always an in. Right?
The
That's how these
legislation
things
I'm
go.
reading at the moment is the Interpretations Act. I thought the Health Act was bad. And the Industrial Relations Act was bad, but this is insane.
See, look, 20 odd years ago, I remember there was this big movement of they were having a lot of legislation and a lot of information, full stop, being changed to what they called plain language, right? So to stop it from being complicated, stop it being exactly everything we've just suggested. Now, what happened to that movement?
It takes a long time.
Honestly.
It's still happening. There's what do they call it? They have committees in the upper house. So when it's dealing with federal legislation, it's in the Senate. If it's state legislation, it's in the Legislative Council. Okay. So as certain legislation gets brought up to their attention, this is why we're constantly getting amendment bills to all these different acts. So what happens is they read something that they say, with today's terminology, this just doesn't mean anything, so we can't use it. So then it gets tabled into the Legislative Council. They'll have an inquiry into it. They'll debate what the law actually means, considering the preamble that came with the bill originally.
Sure.
And then they'll reword it to meet today's language.
My thought on this is, okay, if you're going to put a new bill into place, a new law, you should have to take another one out. Right?
They supersede the previous one.
Well, they don't, because there's still law on top of law on top of law, right? I mean, look, up until 5 years ago, it was still legal to get out of your carriage, walk around and urinate on the rear left wheel, right? That's only 8 years ago or whatever was taken out.
Well, your carriage is just your car now.
I know.
You can still pee on your left wheel.
No, you can't. That was taken away a few years ago, right? What I'm getting at is many years ago that the law changed. Why was that law not taken out? Okay, because you had to tend to your horses and all kind of thing. How long has that law been there? Now, what we've got now with current, it brings an interesting problem. If AI is going to start writing these rules and this legislation, it's going to be writing it with today's rules of society. And that is a big issue, because right now, I don't think there's ever been a time of society that's been so muddled up, so confused, so lost.
So it's kind of
socially, anyway.
Someone jumped onto Chat GPT, and there's a questionnaire that you can do to see where you land on the political spectrum. Are you libertarian?
Yep.
Are you on the left side? Are you the right side? Are you conservative? And all the different bits in between. And they did it to Chat GPT.
Yep.
So Chat GPT landed only just slightly to the left with its answers.
It's
And they're saying,
interesting.
because how does Chat GPT gets its answers?
Internet.
Previously to 2021.
Mm.
It doesn't get anything after 2021.
Really?
Yeah. So that's the free version of it. If you have the paid version, it goes a little bit further, but
Yeah.
it's still not that great. And there's also a lot of restrictions on it. Doesn't give financial advice, doesn't give legal advice. It just says, right, here are the laws. Go see a lawyer.
To my honest mind is that, and the thought is that it should run up until the year 2000, because I think in the last 23 years, the amount of damage we've done to this world socially is
Okay, Silverchair.
Pardon?
Okay, Silverchair.
You're a freak. Anyway, all right.
I wonder
mate.
how many
what are your
musos
thoughts?
we'll
Honestly,
get
Derek, what are your thoughts?
Well,
on
I
this?
think AI to some extent is only good as a programmer.
Yeah.
and that's the interesting part of it. There's always going to be a bent or whatever that programmer comes up and design in some sort of framework that it has to operate from. It's got to be created from somewhere. So I think we'll probably get a lot more versions of AI coming out. I mean, obviously, ChatGPT is the buzz thing right
Sure.
now. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody comes out with a new thing. It reminds me of the different versions of. Well, you remember Netscape that we used to have as internet browsers, and then you had different search engines coming on until Google really took the market and took it to new places. And I think
Firefox is so much better. The ad blocker actually works.
All right, mention that.
But that's what I think it's going to happen with artificial intelligence. Is you're going to be able to almost select. All right, I want it to have this bent. I want it to have this kind of strain. I want it to be able to do this functionality in these areas. Which ones are the best options for my
I wonder if
use?
they'll be effectively get to a level where there's kind of a checklist if you've got to answer 10 questions before it starts. To know if it's left leaning, if it's this, right,
See-
whatever, X, Y, Z.
Or you have to
Me-
be profiled to actually use it so that you can produce what you want.
It's kind of what I'm
Personally,
Yeah.
I don't think they will go that way, because a lot of the information that you're trying to get, I think most of the problem is people jump onto, like, for example, ChatGPT. They go, write me a 200-word essay on the American Revolution or whatever, like for homework essays and that. So it gives you the thing.
Yep.
But what is happening is that's just a generic answer. So there's so many other ways to do it. So, for example, when doing social media posts, let's say we want to do a post in regards to, I've actually done this. So for The Voice,
Okay.
I put into the Chat GPT, please give me the 10 pain points for why people would vote against the Voice referendum. And so it gave me the 10 pain points, and then it goes select points 2, 3, and 7, and write a 150-word social media post promoting no to the Voice.
Okay.
And then it writes you a post using those 3 pain points, and then you go there, using the above, like, it's called a question chain.
Okay.
So using the post, because it might not be right. So then you go, using the above chain, above response, give it a feeling of depression, and then you say the feeling you want to be built in, and then it'll rewrite it again with the different emotions all the way through, and you can change certain things. And like the answer that the Chat GPT has given you isn't the one that you have to use. So you just copy and paste that into a Word document, fix up the spelling to Australian, and then you read it yourself, and you modify little things to say it the way that you would have said it. So it's not the be
Here's
all
a
and end
thought.
all. There's a lot of processes leading up
Here's a
into
thought.
it.
Use your own intellect.
But a
Oh
lot of
my
the-
God.
but-
Here's an idea.
So to do a post like that, for me to type it, think about it, write it out, spell check it, and make sure everything's correct. Doing a 200-word post that actually makes sense and that might get at some sort of traction can take anywhere up to an hour.
Yes.
Like if you actually do some work
Easy.
in it. Doing it that way and getting the same results only took me 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
But there's this
so,
whole dumbing
again,
down of the population.
Not
It's
just
not-
that,
it's not dumbing
but it's
down,
done
though.
the
It
research
is.
for you too. This is the thing that I think the big one is it's done research for you,
Damn right.
right? And research can take a long time to filter through.
Yep.
Yep.
And
that's
summarising things.
a lot of the
So-
time saving.
And especially when you've got a radio station to help out with political stuff, renovating a house, homeschooling your kids, got a wife you got to deal with, doing gardening, cleaning, home maintenance jobs on top of it, video editing that you're supposed to have done 6 months ago, which you still haven't done. So time is an essence. Now, the AI isn't a human. It isn't a solution. It is a tool. So a hammer in my hands, I can probably build a house. A hammer in Aaron's hands, he can probably break a car. So depending on and there's the same hammer. Depending on what you use the tool for, will depend on what the results are and how well you can use that tool.
That is actually one of the brightest things you've ever said, my friend. And I'm sitting here and I'm a bit lost. But it's it is true.
Do you need to sit down? Do you need a glass of water? So AI is just a tool, and people are getting so hung up on it. It's like a computer is just a tool. It replaced the typewriter because people refuse to upgrade with it. But again, it is just a tool. So the problem is, it's the person who tells the tool what to do. Because again, a car in your hands is a rally car.
Yes.
You put that car in the hands of Islamic extremists and it becomes a weapon. Okay, so AI, using that as same analogy, put it in the hands of a university student, they're going to get, low to middle grades.
So what you're saying...
Put it in the hands of someone who's trying to break into a bank, steal all your personal information and wreak havoc, it's a very dangerous
So you're
tool.
talking intent of use. That's what you're really...
Intent of use.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not about the size, it's how you use it, okay? Right, is that what you're saying?
And whether you can breathe through your ears.
All right.
But the more on the economic point is this: is a
Please do.
business goes right. All right, how many writers do we have? Okay,
Yeah.
Let's we don't need them anymore. We've got somebody just to run the chat GPT
Okay,
for
now
us.
that's... Thank you for
No,
that
it's
point.
not done to work. And I'll tell you why, because as someone who actually uses the ChatGPT to help with my writing, if you get an idiot who's not a writer using that tool, you just don't get low-level university quality things. You're not going to get what you pay for. You need someone who's actually got experience in doing copywriting and actual genuine writers to make sure you're getting the most out of that tool. Otherwise,
Okay.
it's a waste of money.
A newspaper that has 50 writers
Yep.
now reduces workforce to how much? 15 writers, 20 writers to do the pump work out of 50?
Yeah, 15 tops. And that's what's happening, and that is what's
Yeah.
happening. Now, there are so many articles now, and I couldn't believe this until I saw it with my own eyes, but so many articles now that are being written by fictitious journalists, right?
That just
It's
shows the
a
level
mess.
of incompetence of our current journalists.
Oh,
If an AI can write a better article than a genuine journalist, they shouldn't be a journalist in the
They're
first
not.
place.
I don't
most
agree
of-
with that fully.
Yeah,
I think a lot of
I
it
do.
comes down to dollar.
Cut and paste. No, it's cut and paste journalism. Okay, so right now, journalists don't go out and get a story anymore. Okay, somebody gets
Spot
it,
on.
You just cut and paste it, cut and paste, cut and paste.
Spot on.
You look at they don't even bother rewriting them. You literally get the exact same quotes and all kind of thing. That's another reason why the media is so broken, right? Because you can't get different opinions. You're always getting the same narrative.
You've just proven my point that those journalists shouldn't be journalists.
I agree.
They
Thoroughly
failed. So what's going to happen is, instead of getting cut and paste journalism now, you still have the same 50 journalists. You'll have, say, maybe 10 doing the cut and paste stuff just to make sure you got the fillers for the newspaper, and then the other 40, instead of doing also the cut and paste, they can now start doing actual proper journalism.
Okay.
They can actually
Now,
go get real
here's
stories.
what
They
you
can start
You could say
investigating
that, but it
things.
doesn't work that
Now,
way.
you've forgotten about the other department of the newspaper that looks after the finances and counts the beans, right? Now, they're going to go, hey, we don't need 50 anymore.
Shareholders.
Yep. Shareholders want a bigger dividend, whatever. We'll have 10, 15 do the job of 50 because they are now saving that hour and they're doing it 15 minutes, pumping out the rubbish.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So all of a sudden, the quality of the articles in the newspaper have just gone through the roof.
I've read the West Australian.
Yeah, exactly. It's not hard. So, so the quality of the articles are now getting better. More people are actually willingly going to buy this article because there's actual genuine articles in there now. So all of a sudden, instead of selling, say, 10 million copies a week, you're now selling 40 million copies a week.
Look, I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right in the sense of you're getting better quality. But how many business owners are not going to see it that way? They're going, good. We're looking at cost cutting.
And this is where the difference between savvy business people versus, hey, let's make a quick buck, will make the difference. Because there's going to be smaller newspapers like The Lighthouse. Oh, no, what is it called? The Light? Will actually go out, investigate the stories, have great quality things, and people don't migrate from the cut and paste we've been cutting corners to the journalism where they're actually done properly with the assistance of AI rather than just relying on AI to do
No,
everything.
totally disagree. Okay, we're sitting in a building now which the rent is going up and up and up and up, okay? So, okay, I'm under pressure to either bring in more money to cover that rent going up and up and up. We're talking about 90% increase, for God's sake, right? Or I cut costs, okay? Because ultimately, we've still got to make this place viable. Now, if I can say, okay, we'll cut 2 staff if we had staff, but like, you know what I mean? Like that's how, if I could go, okay, I can use computer, I can use AI, I can use technology to replace 2 people, there's 2 wages I don't have to worry about, and that's going to, therefore,
Okay, so perfect.
reduce
Let's use Edge as an example.
Sure.
So you can then turn around instead of spending your time organising the music, what plays where, labelling all the songs and all that sort of stuff, you just go to the AI, please create an algorithm, sort music into genres.
Okay.
And then our entire music playlist, instead of you sitting there song by song changing it into genres, you can sort that out in a matter of minutes.
Would that really work?
Yeah, it's already happening. So when you've got, for video editing, for example,
Yep.
so you've got, let's say you've got 2-camera shoot. So you've got 2 streams of cameras going through. Let's say it's an hour-long clip. You'll probably have anywhere between... Okay, Billie Eilish did a song when she was doing her song. They were going through how many cuts, like taking one lot of vocals and another and another and another to make a song which they released for an album. Within 2 minutes, there was 80 cuts. That's how many cuts when you have a production song. How many times they take audio from here, we'll take that word from there, we'll take that word from there, and they cut it all together. Imagine how long that would take a human to put together versus an AI that you go, boom. I've seen it happen on a 1-hour clip. There was about 30 or 40 different transitions going from one camera to the next, which would normally take about 5 to 6 hours to edit into a single thing, happen in 4 minutes. So again,
taking talent out of the workforce.
But that just cutting and pasting from one person talking to another person talking to another person talking.
When they pick up the voice, is that how
that
it does
doesn't, well, it just it takes voice and comes back a second or two.
Sure. Okay.
So it doesn't take talent to go, all right, that's where the transition is. So you tell the AI, so the person with the talent tells the AI where to put the cuts and how to do it. Okay, now, let's say, for example, the talent is someone who's really good at breaking passwords on people's phones. So then you use an AI to do that for you. So that's where it becomes dangerous. And so I think that this is just my personal belief. The next really, really big industry that's going to come through is actually AI cybersecurity, personal security on technological devices. Have a look at it when computers first started really getting onto the internet. McAfee Internet was McAfee Security was on absolutely everything. How much did he sell that company for?
Oh, absolutely no idea.
An absolute fortune. He hates the company himself until he died of I think it was a cocaine overdose or something, the guy that sold it. But it was the first thing that was really, really important to protect people online. So what's happening, we're having this next paradigm shift. The next paradigm shift is going to be AI and the virtual world. But the thing is that we're going to need to be able to be protected while we're doing it, especially the older generations who don't really understand it, because who's the number one victims of scams out at the moment?
Oh, you're right.
It's the older generation. So we need something that is going to protect the older generation or people who are a little bit daft.
Okay.
So
well, quite frankly, mind you, with all this AI, what you're doing is creating a population that's a little bit daft, because you're taking away personal responsibility, you're taking away, like, the requirement to do your own research, all that sort of thing. You're making a very dumb population, and therefore, I suppose, you're building up your client base.
Spot on. So
Frightening.
do you think the TV started that process? So should we take away all the TVs from every single household?
No, because quite frankly, radio started before that. And
okay, do you think radio made people stupid? Even more stupid, because the people used to go outside and interact with the people. All of a sudden, they can just sit there and listen to the radio.
Yeah.
No.
So at what point does self-responsibility have to kick in?
I think that they've spent so much time, specifically over the last, I don't know, I'm going to say the last 20 years, really removing personal responsibility, okay, and also that the ethos of working hard to achieve something, the encouragement award, the participation award, all those sorts of, which we all know is my bugbear. But I want people to strive to be better, right? Okay. Otherwise, life is very, very dull if you're not taking in new information, if you're not growing as a human being. Okay, and unfortunately, I think all of this tech is just making it's like this. Okay, everybody goes to the gym these days. Not me, but okay, everybody else seems to go to the gym.
No, I just fix houses.
But why do you go to the gym? Because you don't get the physical exercise anymore. Now, I think to myself, I used to have a job, right, where I was very physical and all kind of carry on, right? I was in mint nick, right, because I was working hard, doing all that stuff, right? Okay, because everything's become so automated and so bloody wrapped in cotton wool and OH&S and yada, 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 right? Our jobs have just become behind desks. It embarrasses me how much time I sit behind a computer now. It's frightening. Now,
let me ask you a question.
So, to keep fit now, I've got to go to a place, pay money.
No, you don't.
And use machines.
That's a lack of knowledge on your part on how to get fit.
It's true.
So then you can go onto an AI, say, I'm a homebody. I have no intentions of going to the gym. I hate the gym with a passion. Create an exercise program I can do at home, which will have the same effect.
Now, I love all that, except the
AI
fact is
you
should have enough upstairs so you wouldn't have to ask AI.
So if I ask you where your mandible is, would you know where it is?
It's next to the Thunderbolt.
No, it's not. It's the jaw in your mouth.
I don't have any idea.
Okay, what
these
about
things
your
are.
tibia and fibia?
Nor do I care. I just, you know what I
Your
mean?
gluteus maximus. You know what that is?
Yes, I
That's
certainly
your
do.
ass.
Mine's well used. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's been sat on too much.
Ask me a component about a car, and I'm going to go straight there, right?
Ask me, I won't
It's
know.
about your interest, right?
Actually, no, I might know. Ask Derek, he won't know.
Okay, all right. We
So
won't even go there.
on the fitness side of things, right?
Oh,
so
dear. I was gonna go to a break, but
no,
all right.
no, this is great. So we've got yourself, who's cuddly.
Cuddly, thank you.
You got me, who's big hunk of man meat, and then we've got Derek.
Okay, here we go.
So Derek,
Case of your own
he's not a
advertising.
construction worker.
No.
He's got lovely manicured nails.
Right.
He's got a beautiful
So
5
he's
o'clock
not a
shadow.
construction worker. Is he an Indian? Is he a policeman? Or
Yeah,
is
he's
he...
a finance guy. He spends most of his time on a computer and talking to people.
Sure.
Okay, how do you say fit, Derek?
Running after my kids.
There you go.
There
Being
you
an
go.
active parent. An
Yes.
AI cannot be an active parent.
Oh,
No, trust me, it cannot. A computer is not an active parent
Well, then why is every child raised with an iPad these days?
because they're not active parents. And
Spot
why do
on.
we got so many problems with the younger generations around crime, depression, drug addiction, sexual...
Boredom,
Spot
and
on.
lack of a male role model. But that's another.
And going a step further, especially for the male children, ADHD
Oh.
medication when they don't need it.
That's
So,
right.
Anyway,
Yeah, hand it out no matter what. Well, look,
happy pills.
we were going to a break about 10 minutes ago. So what we'll do now
Go to a
is...
break.
Oh, are you happy with that, mate? Would you like to close up this subject before we move on?
Well, I think what will happen with AI is that new things will come out that we didn't see or foresee, just as we did with the internet, new
Yep.
opportunities, and things shutting down and changing and shifting. And I think that's what we often think, we think we'll get all this extra time
Yep.
with technology that we won't need to work. No, we just have a way of filling it up with other things.
Yep, okay, okay.
And I think AI is simply that. And I think Travis put it well. It's a tool.
He is a tool. Okay. And with that...
I was waiting for that to come through.
It's Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth.
Around crime, depression, drug addiction, sexual...
Boredom,
Spot
and
on.
lack of a male role model. But that's another.
And going a step further, especially for the male children, ADHD
Oh.
medication when they don't need it.
That's
So,
right.
Anyway,
Yeah, hand it out no matter what. Well, look,
happy pills.
we were going to a break about 10 minutes ago. So what we'll do now
Go to a
is...
break.
Oh, are you happy with that, mate? Would you like to close up this subject before we move on?
Well, I think what will happen with AI is that new things will come out that we didn't see or foresee, just as we did with the internet, new
Yep.
opportunities, and things shutting down and changing and shifting. And I think that's what we often think, we think we'll get all this extra time
Yep.
with technology that we won't need to work. No, we just have a way of filling it up with other things.
Yep, okay, okay.
And I think AI is simply that. And I think Travis put it well. It's a tool.
He is a tool. Okay. And with that...
I was waiting for that to come through.
It's Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth.